Josh, you never do anything for points leagues. Josh, more points league content. Well, shut up. Points league sleepers coming your way. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and POV, you're doing sleepers for fantasy basketball. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at Basketball Monster, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are, of course, available on all platforms, so give it a double bang. A single bang is not good enough. I want two of them, audio and video. And let's hit Operation 100K. Yahoo new board is out. ESPN rankings were updated a week ago. And then that's it, yeah. That's where we're at. We're at 3 weeks away or so from the start of the NBA season. Preseason begins tomorrow, I believe it is. And it is time for us to look at an updated list of Yahoo points and ESPN points sleepers. Not late round flyers. We've done that stuff already. I'm talking about players who I think are positioned maybe 2 rounds or more, or a round if we're talking the early parts of a draft. They're just too low, and I think you can get value out of them. Someone left a comment on the Category League video yesterday, so I'll address it here, just so in case someone has the same question. It's Josh, Yahoo updated their rankings, so some of the guys that you mentioned as sleepers, well, their rankings got updated, so therefore the value is gone on them, and that is a point. That is a good point, but that is why when I put these up, you will see that I put up ADP. Next to the name, I either put ADP up, I put ranking up, or I put both up. So sleepers is dependent, A, on where you play, and B, how is things getting drafted? Because there will be some drafts and some people in your league who go in and the league defaults by the ranking and they use that. There are others who are experienced, more experienced maybe, who will automatically sort the room by ADP. I can't tell you what they're going to do. I've got no idea. So I want to cover both of those. And yes, ADP will start to come in. If rankings get adjusted and someone's lost value because they've gone 30 spots up or 30 spots down, ADP does tend to follow. But it doesn't always. And while, if you're drafting, you're in there and a lot of guys are drafting off ADP and that ADP takes that time to come in, well, the value's still there. It's about finding the right spot. Agreed? So when I put the names up and it says this guy's a sleeper and a rank next to his name, it's based on where the rank currently is. And this is the 3rd of October, I'm recording this, and it says he's a sleeper based on ADP, it's based on where his ADP currently is. And if it says ADP and rank, it's a sleeper based on both of those. Sometimes I don't think that I do a good enough job of explaining the way that I'm going through it. Sometimes it's in my head. I go, that's obvious. It says ADP, so it's an ADP sleeper. It's a rank sleeper. But inevitably, you get a question. If someone asks a question, maybe once in my life, not true, but maybe like once in my life, there's been a question that one person asked where I go, you literally have to be the only person on earth that was thinking that. It should probably happen more than once, but very rarely, if one person speaks up, there's 10 others who have got the same question. So I hope that helps. I hope that clarifies a little bit about where we're at. FBI World Cup. Go sign up. The link is in the description of the YouTube. The link is in the description of the audio. $20 entry, 576 teams, 9-cat head-to-head, 3-phase system, 2 redrafts during the year. One, I think, is in January. One's in March. You end up with a grand prize winner. You win prizes along the way in the different phases as well. So check out the FBI World Cup. All of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl leagues are done. We are all ready to draft. All of those the last one of those drafts will start in about 12 hours time from me recording this, or maybe a bit longer. They'll start tomorrow. And then the last one we've got is draft and stash, which I hope we can get filled out and drafting across the weekend. which is a new entry into that. And I might, if you twist my arm, do a best ball at some point. We'll see. But that's where we're at with that. So like I said, we are here. We're knocking out sleepers. Points leagues, Yahoo, ESPN. Sleepers is a garbage term very clearly. But these are just guys that, depending on how you want to look at it, whether it is ADP, whether it is rank, or whatever it is, a combination of the two, I just think these guys aren't positioned particularly well. I think there's room for you to get them at a spot which enables you to accumulate more value. And honestly, that's like the point of all of this stuff. Let's start with Yahoo, and let's start at the top end. Let's start inside the top 50 when trying to find value for players. And as you know, if you watched the category video yesterday, first of all, congratulations to you for doing that. But also, like you'll see, that I fixed it. I changed the thing that was causing the problems in terms of the way that graphic looked. Yeah, because it looked stupid yesterday, but it looks better now. All right, that's enough out of that. The first guy that's up there is Jalen Brunson. And Brunson's got an ADP of 21, and some might think that's a little higher. I actually think for a Yahoo points league that 21 is probably too low. Now, he's not exceeding that spot by 20, but at that early portion in the draft, I think there's an argument to be made of Brunson in the top 15 for Yahoo points. There's an argument to be made, especially with their complete lack of depth and the fact that Randall was a better passer than Towns, that I think some of those passes move across to Brunson. Yeah, I think that his numbers can actually go into that, at least in the top 15. Yeah, Towns will be a usage guy, and that was part of the concern with Brunson, where his usage would go with Randall back. But I think the assists will help, and the fact that they've got no depth, it has to help him. So I like Brunson now. I think we're talking about, and I'll be clear with all of these, every ADP or rank that I put up for all of these is a minimum of 10 spots better is where I position these players. A minimum of 10. And Brunson, I think, is the minimum at about 10. I've got him at like 11 or 12 in Yahoo points at the moment. It's about a minimum of 10. If I go through and tell you what the actual maximum difference is on all these lists, I've got like the maximum is, what have I got? 139 on ESPN? Is that about right? Yeah, but that's for guys that aren't going to qualify for this list. But anyway, yeah, there's some big gaps in some of these players, like 45, 64, in terms of gaps of how I value them. But again, drafting in fantasy is not just about, well, this guy's ranked 80th, I think he's 30th, I'll take him at 30. It's about, maybe I get him at 65 or 70. And if I don't, it's okay. I'll just do something different. We don't want to cut our nose off to get a player too early, just to say we've got a sleeper when he's not a sleeper. But these are the guys that I want you to be on the lookout for, and then try and figure out how to make them make sense on your team. I think LeBron's actually a good value. ADP of 24, ranked 25. The more I look into the Lakers team, the more I just think they're bad. And I do obviously worry with LeBron in terms of health and age, but I think this team is really bad. And even if we think that every year we have for the last 10 years, LeBron's going to take his foot off the gas. He's going to go easy in the regular season. He's going to distribute stuff to other people. I don't know. He's a better player in points leagues and category leagues, and LeBron at an ADP of 24 and a rank of 25 is like, at least on a per game basis, should be knocking down the door of the top 10. Honestly, on a per game, he should. LaMelo Ball, we talked about it a lot in yesterday's show. It's obviously injuries. That's the problem there. But an ADP of 26, to me, suggests that like we definitely look at Ball as a very clear second round player at worst. And honestly, maybe even the first round. I think Charles Lee is going to make them push the pace more this season, which helps LaMelo do a lot more, I believe. I'm very excited to see what he's able to do, and as you're probably well aware, I'm not super concerned about injuries, and is his ankle going to blow up every season? I don't really think that's a major problem, but it's there. I think Sengun with an ADP of 30, that's Alperen, in case you're wondering if it was anyone like Tony Sengun, it's Alperen Sengun. ADP of 30, rank of 30th. In a category league, you can say, he doesn't hit threes, and his blocks and free throws are like that. Cool. It doesn't matter in a points league. He should be way higher than this. I think there's a lot more to come from Sengun this season from a counting stats perspective. You can disagree with it, but an ADP of 30, a rank of 30, I like that. I'm going second round. Honestly, I go second, maybe middle second round with Sengun, I think. Ja Morant, there are concerns. I talked about this, I think, yesterday in the Category League show, talking about Draymond and the value he has, and people are like, well, he was suspended. And I said, yeah, okay. Well, Morant was this season. Look, Morant was, and then he was injured. But do we think Morant's playing 9 games? We don't. Always remember, when we're playing on Yahoo, when you're drafting on Yahoo, everything that they do is non-format specific. So it could be points, it could be categories, it could be head-to-head or roto. We don't know. And Morant's one of those guys who's a first-round-ish type of player in points leagues, but isn't quite that high in category leagues. So they try and slide it through the middle, and that's where you get the value. And his rank, Demetrius, is at 43. His ADP, Ja Morant, is 34. You might bake a little bit of risk into that and go, I'll take him at 20. I love it. I took him in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl points league, I think. And I thought I got good value out of it. I also think that Cade Cunningham, with an ADP of, 36 and a rank of 31, actually, to me, has real value of being better than that in a points league. Cade is going to, I think, get more opportunities to get assists this season. I think he can be an easy 42 fantasy point player. 43, maybe 45. That's a second round guy really comfortably. And that rank, again, we're talking top 50. If you're getting him, an ADP is average. So that means that some are taking him in the 3rd and some are taking him in the 4th. And if you're taking him in the 4th in a points league, well, you've just snagged probably 20 spots of value there, I think. And that is a bloody good way to go about it. Today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Tickets, events, bang, bang. We love it. We want to go to things. My partner went to see a musical last night. And when you're looking to get tickets, you don't want to be paying through the nose. That's a phrase, isn't it? You don't want to be giving out an arm and a leg. Game Time's not about noses or arms or legs. It's about tickets. And it's about getting the right value. And it's about finding the best options. And that's where Game Time Picks comes in. It's a new thing they've got. It's a new algorithmically driven feature that just shows you the best tickets. So you don't have to worry about, is this good, is this bad, what am I doing? There's too many options, I'm so overwhelmed. No, they just give you the good stuff. Of course, you throw in the things that the zone deals where you just pick an area and they choose the seat so you save money. Of course, you can still go in there and see the views from your seat, but Game Time Picks it's a game changer. Some might say it's a game time changer because it just saves you money, it saves you time, and it just puts things that you need right in front of you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again or again. Do you say again or again? I think I say again most of the time, but I don't know. It's like an envelope. I think I always say envelope. Doesn't matter. Create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Those sort of insane musings are why you probably shouldn't skip the ads, because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, especially after recording the 3rd show of the day. The old brain and the voice and the looking at screens and the talking, it gets a little bit iffy, doesn't it? Let's go back to talking about sleepers. There's 3 more guys who are top 50 in one way or the other on Yahoo in terms of rankings, who I don't think should be. Evan Mobley, well, that's not true. Not that I don't think should be. Who are probably still going too low. Evan Mobley is at 41. And you might say, Evan Mobley at 41, Josh, surely we're not actually squeezing any value out of him there. And I, again, respectfully disagree. I think that Evan Mobley can very easily be a top 30 fantasy points league player. And that is not even expecting him to see any sort of sizable jump in usage or become like a 20-point per game scorer. I just think he can do a little bit more. And 41 is sort of hedging his bets. It's worrying about free throw percentage in category leagues, which we don't care about here. 16 and almost 10 last season. 16 and 10. Yeah, 16 and 10 from a fantasy points perspective is already about 38 fantasy points. Is it? Or am I imagining that? No, it's about 30. About 30 fantasy points, sorry. And then you add in 3 assists, and that's like another 5 points at 35. 1.4 blocks. We're talking another 4.5. Like, you're already hitting 40-ish points there already. Just give me a slight tick up. So, and a steal game. Like, 41's pretty silly. I think Jalen Johnson at 42 is pretty silly. Where was Jalen Johnson as a fantasy points producer last season? he was a better category league guy, but last season he ranked 55th, Jalen Johnson, in points leagues. At the moment, his ADP is 42. And again, you might say that's decent. And getting him at 42, I love. Because I think he's a very clear third-round player. Maybe, probably not, but maybe into the second round. And the last one is, much like Ja Morant, one of the kings of the old difference in categories and points. It's Paolo Banchero. His rank, again, they try and split the middle. And that is where you take advantage. His rank is 39 on Yahoo. And for most, they would suggest that's not a good category league rank. And I sort of agree. I think I took Paolo in one of my drafts recently in the 50s or 60s. I don't know. I can't remember. Around that spot. But 22.5, 7 and 5.5, 46 and 73, you expect slight improvements in year 3. And at 39, there's just it's so easy for Paolo in that position to just be better. From a points league, it's really not. It's not tough. Like it's easy. I think he's bordering second round in Yahoo points leagues. But 39 suggests you can get him in the 4th. And if you can, well, you get onto that, don't you? Because that's really good. The 50 to 100 range on Yahoo, there's a few more players in this zone, and Zion Williamson always appears. He's another Paolo Banchero-ish sort of player. He's got the injury risk associated, but like he's a just way better player than this in a points league, like just significantly better. It's they're trying to create the points and categories juncture, tying in with issues with injury replacement or injury value. But this is a top 20 per game guy, like easily, and he's ranked 50th with an ADP of 51. It's easy. That's so easy, and that honestly that difference basically eliminates a lot of the risk, if you even believe there is risk. Another one of the names that, you know what I'm going to say. It's like, is this guy good in categories? He's not quite as good in categories, but he's better in points, and that's Pascal Siakam. Siakam does struggle with lack of defensive stats. He does struggle with efficiency at times, but that's okay because that doesn't really matter that much here. I think Paolo's a third-round player, top 35 guy, and he's ranked 49th with an ADP of 52. Emmanuel Quickley's ADP is 56. Now, you'll notice that on that screen there, if you are watching this, and if not, I'm going to tell you about it. Like, I don't list Quickley's rank there because I'm not sure we're getting much value at his current rank. But like I've said before, it's not always, like, not everyone is just drafting exclusively off that rank. His current rank, his updated rank, is 45 Quickley. But his ADP still sits at 56. And yeah, the ADP will start to come in. But not all drafts are going to just believe an immediate new rank. They will look at ADP, and you will be able to get him there, and that's where you create value. I still think you can get value at 45. It's just a lot smaller. And Quickley's numbers last year don't really tell us anything because half was with New York, some was with Toronto, and some was without Barnesy. So it's hard to judge it. But yeah, I do like him for value. When I talked about Julius Randle after the Karl Anthony Towns trade, I was like, I think this actually costs Randle value. And I stand by that. I don't think he plays the Tom Thibodeau minutes. I don't think he necessarily... Maybe the usage stays the same. I'm not really sure. Like, they're not a high usage guy. Gobert, McDaniels, Conley. Like, he's the second usage player. He's going to start. He's going to play good minutes. By the way, Naz Reid not starting. But Julius Randle is. And they try and slide it in between. He's got Randle's got a rank of 65. Which, for a category league, feels like it's about okay. But for a points league, like, no, we're way ahead of that. Like, he's a let's say top 50 at worst, but probably top 40 points league player. And I just want to put this up because I did actually change the graphics on my Randle and Towns slides and DiVincenzo. So he averaged 24 and 9 with 5 assists. The defensive numbers aren't great, but he hit almost 2 threes. They're going to need him to shoot because no one else is really good at it on that team. So, like, yeah, I'm in. 60, yeah, love it. I'm not shying away from Julius Randle, even though his value did decrease. It didn't decrease enough to make that number make sense. I also think Josh Giddey at 70 with an ADP with a rank of 69. That's like, it's value. Now, look, a lot of stuff could screw up. Someone said, man, imagine how bad your head's going to explode if Taylor Horton-Tucker cuts into the minutes. I'm telling you now. If he plays a single minute on this team, I will lose my mind. He shouldn't even be able to break camp, Taylor Horton Tucker on this roster, and I don't think he will. But Giddey, surely the fact that they've talked so much about the investment and how much they love him and blah, he's the returner, he's the diamond, blah, blah, blah. He's playing 30. So I really like that value. And then the big fella, Cam Thomas, is going to get a lot of shots. It's going to be pretty yuck towards the end of the season. He might sit down. But also, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I don't think Cam Thomas leads to winning games. So therefore, I'm not sure they need to sit him down at the end of the season to lose games. I think he'll be handling a lot of that himself through the regular season. Good value at 75 with a rank of 67. It's a long show. We've got stuff to further stuff to get through. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sit down, get your drinks, get your food. You're watching a game and you go, "Ooh, I'm a genius. What's happening at this part? What section of the game?" Someone comes in, "Who's winning the match?" And you go, "Don't worry about it. I've got it covered. I've got the phone. I've got my app, my FanDuel app, and I'm ready to place a bet." And inside that app, I've got my eyes on the TV, my eyes here. I've got one eye on the screen, one eye on the big screen. And then I can see the live stats. And then I can see the live play-by-play all in that same spot. And I'm just glued to it. I'm looking at my phone. That's not a phone. And if I could reach down and get my phone, I would actually mime and pantomime that, but I can't. Maybe I can. No, it's too far down. It's all in one place on FanDuel. The odds, the stats, the play-by-play. And as a new customer, why wouldn't you want to sign up? If you place a $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So head across to FanDuel and sign up, place that bet, get the bonus bets. Go to FanDuel.com. What are you really gambling with? Okay, if you're unaware of what we're doing, we're losing our minds, but also talking about sleepers for points leagues. Yeah, got a lot more to go through. Geez, this might be a long one. That's what she said. Kyle Kuzma. Guess what? Him and his brethren, Paolo Banchero, Julius Randle, the better in points than categories guys, always give you value. Rank 83, ADP 83. We're in. We have to do it. That's unbelievable value. Yeah, he might shut down like he did last season. He might get traded, sure, but come on. We're getting a lot of value out of that. Same goes with Simons, Anthony Simons should have given you more clarity on that. I don't know where Anthony Simons is going to end up. That rotation scares me. The Blazers have talent. They're dealing with a bottom 3 coach and an uncertain path as to how they're going to play everybody. But Simons at 89, look, even if it's for 3 months before he's hurt or 4 months before he fake injures or he gets traded, I actually think that he might beat that by 30. You don't think of Jakob Poeltl as a good points league guy, the man who came out in his media day press conference and said, "Yeah, actually, we don't care about winning. We're just trying to develop players." And you go, "Oh, I mean, I knew that." Or others didn't, because there are people who go, "No, the Raptors might be good. They'll push for the play-in." Yeah, they won't. They will not push for the play-in. If that's what we're saying now, they're not pushing for that play-in. But anyway, Poeltl is a better points league guy than you think. So at 95, especially when we consider at that portion in a draft, we're starting to run out of centers. Or decent centers. Shout out to 2-center leagues, which remain insane and you should not play with them. Yahoo, remove them as your default. It is not 1992 anymore. Jakob Poeltl is good value. I don't think that 34-year-old Kelly Olynyk is cutting into his minutes, nor do I think that Jonathan Mobo is until the end of March, he's only 6'6" anyway. This man will help the players develop. Big screens, big rim protection, enable them to be active defensively, flying around. Scott Barnes to do his out-of-position stuff. Quickly to get some steals, because this man can do the stuff inside. So I like getting him there. It's really good value. Whenever you mention Jordan Poole's name, someone will say, "Man, you of course, Josh, you killed us telling us to draft him last season." Let me again be really clear. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I just picked Jordan Poole in one of my drafts. I don't know which one, but I picked him. Jordan Poole is going to be the Wizards' starting point guard. Jordan Poole struggled a lot for reasons that some of it were because he was not good as a player, but some of it was just completely, unbelievably unpredictable. You couldn't have seen some of that stuff coming. And it was a bad call. But I also, and I've talked about this a lot as well, don't worry about that. Don't worry, I can't. He burnt me. Break through the barrier. Go back to it. Jordan Poole's ADP is 97. I reckon, and I know Americans don't say the word reckon, do you? I reckon. That's a very Aussie word. I believe that Jordan Poole might have even been around that mark in points leagues last season. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, there we go. Jordan Poole, last season, points leagues, 98th ranked player. Jordan Poole this season, ADP, 97. It is arguable that Jordan Poole had the worst case outcome that you could have gotten. So, yeah, that's what's happening again, yeah? Like, absolutely not. There is... Look, even if you look at 17.5 points, 4.5 assists, like, there's no way that 4.5 assists are holding. It might only be 5.5. It might only be 18.5 points, but one of the biggest easy W's that you will get is Jordan Poole at 97. I'll go back to the well. I don't care. I'm back to the well, and I'll draft him. Roland Barrett, ADP 98, rank 117. Kyle Kuzma looks at him and goes, bro, what are you doing? You're so far down. You got to join all us other points league legends up a bit higher. But no, he has not been adjusted. I know he has been adjusted. His ranking did change. He was one of the guys that did move in the latest Yahoo board movements. And he did adjust. But, that's not enough, is it? That's really providing us with strong value. In fact, Barrett actually moved down 16 spots in the latest board adjustment. So this is one of the ones that is incredibly easy to get. Like, actually unbelievably easy to be able to grab yourself some Rowan Barrett in a points league draft. It could not be easier, honestly. At that spot, the fact that the ADP is going to drop almost assuredly, and this is a man who could easily be a top 50 player. He probably won't, but he's not being worse than top 70. Just the easiest shit of all time. John Kuminga, ADP 98 and a rank of 90. I don't know what Kerr is going to do. I've got no idea how that rotation works. It is frustrating. I think he's got a safe-ish floor, and when he sits at a rank of 90 with an ADP of 98, I'm good with it. I think there's enough value in that. Two more guys inside the top 100, but outside the top 50 that are worth talking about on Yahoo. And again, this is where I know there'll be an immediate reaction of someone saying, that's confusing. Josh, why are you doing that? Why have you got DeMar DeRozan and Kobe White here? Two players where I've heard you be vehemently against them at times this offseason. Well, it's because of just the positioning and the format. DeMar DeRozan are ranked 55. I don't know what they'll do in terms of ball handling and usage in Sacramento, but I feel okay that DeRozan's floor enables us to still squeeze out something at that spot. He's ranked 55 at the moment. I feel that we can get him to 42. Maybe he doesn't, though. But the Kobe White one is probably the more important one to me, because I have been on record as saying I think that Kobe White is at real risk of being overdrafted in certain leagues and certain situations. I've said it continually. But now there was a big adjustment with Yahoo in the latest rankings, and now at 95 in a points league, I snap it up every day. In a category league, that's about okay. Like, that's totally good. But now the value has really opened up for a points league for Kobe White. I've got three guys that I want to talk about who aren't late round flyers but are still outside the top 100. One of them is John Kuminga's teammate. It is Brandon Pajemski, who we assume is going to be sitting into a larger role this season. I think that's a fair enough assumption. Pajemski's ranked 114th with an ADP of 123. Now, he can have some free throw percentage issues. We've seen this from him as a rookie. He's not necessarily a high usage player, even though I do believe he will do more usage-wise this season. But I'd be pretty shocked if he's not like a top 100 points guy this year. He only played 27 minutes, and I think that's going up. 15 usage, that's probably going up. Ball handling with no Chris Paul probably goes up. So like ADP 123, rank of 114, I'm in. And Jalen Green, the last of the batch. The Fantastic Five. Randall, Banchero, Kuzma, Barrett, and Green. The kings of better in points than categories. And Green, there are a few people that are talking about Jalen as a bit of a category league sleeper. And I don't buy that really at all. But in points leagues at this spot, yeah, like I do. He was getting benched in multiple fourth quarters last season. They've got a lot of other guards. I have no idea what happens. But I do know that if I'm getting Jalen Green at 109, I'm not really worried about it. And Keontae George is ranked 120th on Yahoo. So look, that might mean you get him in the late round flyers, but it also might mean you can go higher than that. Keontae suffers from bad shooting. I feel confident that he's not going to be as bad in field goal percentage as he was last season. He's got a real shot to be top 100. Honestly, upside-wise, top 75 is a possibility for him this season. In a points league, of course. So that, again, these are free type of picks that are late, that have almost no downside. There's always something that could happen. As I realize I just haven't brought the screen back across. There's almost no downside. Almost. There's always something. So I like all of those ones that we just did. And now, I delve in. I dipped my toe. The water wasn't particularly nice. It was a little weird, a little cold. I took it back out and I said, I've got to do it. I've got to look at ESPN rankings and I've got to try and figure out what goes on half the time. And let's try and find where the value is. It's not that the value is absent, because it's not. It's very clearly there. It's about let's get the right ones. So who's in the top 50 for an ESPN Points League using ESPN Points League default scoring, which bumps your steals and blocks up to 4, which takes away points for missed shots, and which also gives a bonus for, I have absolutely no idea why, a bonus for 3-pointers. If I'm in a points league, we all understand that like hitting a 3 gets you a bonus already. Yeah, like it's 3 points versus 2. Adding a bonus, I believe that when you hit a 3 in ESPN, you get 5 points, and then you get 3.5 maybe for a cat. Oh, I don't know what it is for a 2-pointer. It's something really. It's weird. Anyway, because you get the field goals made, you got the 3-point bonus. It's very weird. It's very weird. Anyway, that's ESPN Point Scoring. You don't really need to know how the sausage is made. You just sort of need to know where the players line up and how it differs. So let's take a look at what their first crack at Points League rankings look like. And they haven't made an adjustment on Jim Harden. They probably will at some point, maybe. Let's see how long it takes them to copy things of somebody else. ADP of 28 with a rank of 25 for Jimmy. There is a lot of Jim Harden propaganda. I'm not pushing it necessarily, because it's being pushed by Jim, by the Clippers, by pictures of him shirtless, looking skinny, by him saying, I'm going back to old Harden. And I'll tell you now, Jim, like you're probably not going to do that. You're not going to get back to that old Harden who ran everything, who was in charge of the whole team. But there is no Paul George. That's usage gone, flown away, out the window. There is no Russell Westbrook. That's usage and assists gone. And you know what there is? Half a Kawhi Leonard. And like I said not the other day, this was weeks ago, I said, if James Harden averaged 27, 7, and 10, I don't expect it. But if it happened, I'd go, you know, it actually tracks. Like, I get why it would have happened. The team might win 30 games, but I get it. I don't think that James Harden is out here requesting a trade as some people think will happen. They will not tank. They do not have their draft pick. I'm in on Harden in all formats. And sitting at 28 with a rank of 25 for Jimmy, like the meme says, it's free real estate. Alperen Sengun has an ADP of 29. I talked about him in the Yahoo section already. I just think there's more to it. He's just better than that. I think that he's a top 20 points league player on ESPN. Bang. LaMelo, easy. ADP 33. If you're getting him there, like, you're absolutely laughing. Rank 26. Still, I think you're laughing. It's injury risk, really, that's baking that in, which is good. You can take advantage of people having the panic, and maybe the panic is justified. I get that. I understand why people have that concern. But, like, honestly, per game, is a top 10 player. Easy. Kyrie. Hate the 2-game playoff week. Hate it. But at 35, I'm okay with it. Because I think you're getting enough value there to get him. Zion, that positioning is a little bit better on ESPN than it is on Yahoo. So we're feeling better about that. Zion, I've got as a top 20 ESPN Points League guy per game, and then injury risk associated with it, of course. But an ADP of 39, a rank of 36, that buffer is built in nicely for you. And then there is the Bronco, Jalen Williams, who they've made some adjustments. I believe they were pretty low on him early on in the process of figuring out these drafts and values and that sort of stuff. But I think that Jalen's probably going to hit inside the top 30. in their format, he has to probably get more usage, more minutes, more assists, more three-pointers. And at 49 ADP at rank 45, I do find that very hard to go wrong with. One more top-end player, which, again, if we could talk about draft rooms being sorted by default by rank, well, Karl Anthony Towns is 48th. And I very, very firmly believe that the move to New York will improve Towns' fantasy value. I believe he gets more rebounds. I believe he plays more minutes. I believe he blocks more shots. Maybe he takes more shots. I'm not even sure about that part of it. And efficiency does matter in this format. So Towns, I think, can maybe be a top 30 guy for points leagues. I think he's a top 20 category guy comfortably. But it's not updated. He's 48th. End of round 4. End of round 4, yeah. And if you're in a standard ESPN 10-teamer, that's the 5th round. And that, as I get a chance to show off the fact that I adjusted my Towns graphic, that is just ridiculous value. Look at what Towns did last season. Like, those numbers, 22, 2 threes, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.7 blocks, 50 and 87. They're great. They're not as good as they were for him in the past, but they're great. Towns last season, it wasn't the great. It wasn't the greatest season, but still, the rankings for what he was able to do are sort of about that area. I think he's going to do more. So yeah, I love getting Townsy there. Let's go into the midsection, right into the solar plexus. 50 to 100 zone of ESPN ADPs or ranks. Jimmy Butler's ADP is 60 and his rank is 63, and I am not in on Jimmy. Don't get me confused. I do not think that contract Jimmy, serious Jimmy, is going to do anything because I don't believe that it's... Well, let me put it this way. If you believe in that part of Jimmy, that Jimmy is serious, that Jimmy... I keep saying Jimmy like I'm in a Seinfeld episode. Jimmy likes Elaine. If Mr. Butler, James, is going to really put it out for the contract year. Also remember, last year was a contract year. The reason we're in this position now is because he did not perform and did not get his new contract in the offseason. He did not get a new contract, so he failed his contract year. Remember that part. But also, the reason that people froth, and someone asked me in the comments, what does frothing mean? It's glazing. It's frothing. The people who froth Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy, man, so that's why he hates Towns. That's why he hates Wiggins, because he's a competitor. He's hard. He goes for it. All he wants to do is win. What you are suggesting is that if you believe in Jimmy and you look at then and go, well, it's contract year, I'm buying in even further, that means that you are saying that he does not try unless he's getting extra money. That's what you're saying. That is what you're saying. That he does not care about winning. That he does not prioritize winning. That he prioritizes Jimmy. He prioritizes $20 coffees. He prioritizes haircuts. That's what you're saying. I'm not saying that. That's what you're saying. If you believe there's this gigantic season coming from Butler. Really, he's 35 and his body's busted. Shout out Tom Thibodeau. That, to me, is the problem. This was supposed to be a positive Jimmy Butler section because at 60, with a rank of 63, I don't care. I'm in. I'm drafting him. I'll take him there. No problem whatsoever. I'm not thinking he's a top 20 player, but I don't have to at that spot. That's amazing value. We've gone over the Fred VanVleet stuff ad nauseum. I'll go over it again. Why is his ADP at 60? It wasn't 90 a few weeks ago. It is coming in quick. But he's ranked 49th on ESPN Point 6, so it's not going to come in much quicker than that. I'll grant you, if you want to say that VanVleet doesn't play 37, he plays 35 minutes this season, I get it. But I highly, highly doubt a coach like Ime Udoka, with a team that's as talented as this team could be, that is absolutely pushing to get themselves in the playoffs, is going to say, all right, Fred, you're all like our second best player, the key to our turnaround. Mind sitting down so a 6'1" white point guard can just take over? You're cool with that, yeah? We'll just split the minutes between you guys. You're okay with that? Also for you, that's a contract year for you too, yeah? So do you mind just pulling back and doing way less? Yeah, we'll lose more games, but shiny stuff. I really don't think that's going to happen. So 35 minutes might happen. He might lose a little bit. He's 31, so there can be drop-offs. Don't care. You've got so much room to play with at an ADP of 60 for Van Vliet. I just did the Boston Celtics season preview when we put Des White, the maximum one, under the lens. And there are some reasons why you could be concerned about some shooting regression for Derek. It's possible. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But he's got an ADP of 65 on ESPN, which he should be around the 50s at least, I'm guessing, for points league rankings. So, yeah, let's go. Jalen Johnson, ADP 66, come on. Rank of 50, also come on. What? Yeah. I know that a lot of the ADP stuff started because he was ranked at 130, which, again, is just example 10 billion why you don't play on ESPN. But this is probably a third-round player, top 35, points league guy. I drafted him early. Someone left a comment on me talking about... that's why I love you guys commenting, because it enables me to bring some ideas and thoughts and differing opinions to the masses when you comment something and I remember it. I took Jalen Johnson it was in the points league draft. You know what? I'm just going to bring it up while I'm doing this and have a look exactly where I drafted him. I'd pick one in that draft. I drafted him at pick 36. ESPN point scoring, so it fits in perfectly here. I picked him on the turn. 3.12 is where I took Jalen Johnson. Someone said, man, do you really think Jalen Johnson's going to be that good? Like, if I didn't, I wouldn't have taken him there. But yeah, I do. And you might say, well, you've taken away the value of him, which is cool. Like, I'm on the turn. I wanted to get him. He fit what I wanted. And we're not drafting on the ESPN platform, so the ADPs and ranks don't matter. And he was gone in the next 5 spots anyway. But yeah, that's where I view him. Franz Wagner. I'm not going to rule out that he can't shoot anymore, but I'm also not going to tell you that that's the truth, because we also saw him shoot 36% for 2 straight seasons in the NBA. And yeah, it was a bad year, but like, that's not the reality yet. It might be, but it's not. So I'm big on him year 4, rank 65, ADP 68. Yeah, easy stuff. Double Royal, Julius Randle has an ADP of 68 as well. And like I said before when talking on the Yahoo side of things, Randle does get more penalized in a ESPN Points League scenario because blocks and steals get valued more and he doesn't do them, and efficiency gets penalized. But at 68, like, he at least should be around the 50 mark, and getting a round of value in that area is something that I think we can all agree on is good. It's good. Some might say chaotic good. Shout out to our old mate Tom Grossi as well, who's he doesn't know me, but I love his YouTube channel. I love his energy and the stuff that he brings. Chaotic good legend. Let's look at some other 50 to 100 players. Why is Evan Mobley down here? What's the koala doing? Run out of eucalyptus, my guy? Too much chlamydia? Not Mobley, just koalas in general. ADP of 69 for the big fella. Hey, that's where we get the chlamydia. A rank of 66. Why? What is ESPN cooking that they think Mobley is bad? Why do they do that? What's wrong with him? Nothing. But like, why is he sitting at that spot? Because me, Josh Lloyd, I think that Mobley has a real shot at like a top 30-ish ESPN Points League finish. Top 30. And here he is sitting outside the top 60 in so many different, like, both rank and ADP. So to say that I would like to pick him there, if I was in a draft on ESPN, and I will never be in a fantasy league on ESPN, so don't worry about that part of it. But you are. Some of you are. So get Mobley. That's just, to me, like, it's easy stuff. Last season, with a busted ankle and playing, 31 minutes a night, he was 46th. You will not have an easier, or you might actually, given some of these rankings, but that is almost the easiest W you can get. Emmanuel Quickly sits on this list as well. Just don't think it's quite adjusted enough for him. He's got an ADP of 70 with a rank of 55, so both values there. Big Nick Claxton with an ADP of 73. Yeah, the Nets are going to be bad. He was 10 spots better than this last season. Does he get like 1 or 2 extra shots? He played under 30 minutes a night. Does that go higher? I don't know. But I do like him at 73. And maybe there's just an anti-Cavs bias at ESPN, because why is Jarrett Allen, a top 50 player last season who played under 32 minutes a night, Why has he got an ADP of 76? What are people just avoiding? And yes, ADP covers across 2 formats. That's, again, points league Ws. Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas last season, in 31 minutes a night on ESPN formats, was 93rd. His ADP currently sits at 76. Has got to be considered a shot to crack the top 50. Yes, efficiency is going to be disastrous. But is he a 24-point guy, 27-point guy, 30 points per game? Almost definitely not. But like, that's some value. And you know what? It is true. ESPN does hate the Cavs. There you go, Cleveland. If you wanted a reason to feel disrespected, here is another Cavs guy that's sitting at a spot that I don't really get. Well, that's not true. I sort of get it. His ADP is 77. His rank is 67. But last season, he was the 73rd ranked player. But we sort of know why. He couldn't eat for 4 weeks. He had a busted jaw. And the year before that, even though he was playing alongside Donovan Mitchell, he smashed through this number. So this is ultimate short-term memory, thinking that whatever happened last season is it. Because you know where he finished the year before this? And this is unlikely to get back to because he needed 35 minutes to do it, but 38th. 38th in ESPN points leagues 2 years ago with Donovan Mitchell. And that is that grouping of players. We've got a couple more lists to go through here. For the rest of the 50 to top 100 players, I've got Josh Giddey again here. Giddey is positioned with an ADP of 85 on ESPN with a rank of 77. I think both of those represent pretty strong value. Same with Bradley Beal, whose ADP is 91 and rank is 81. And yeah, of course, there are old man injury concerns, but also some of the injuries were just not, A, they weren't apparent second half of the season. B, one of them was a random ankle sprain. The hamstring was annoying, but it went away by like end of November and didn't really show back up. It could show back up, but it didn't. The ankle was the next thing. I love this. The Thick Hogsman, Toby Harris. I'll go ahead and suggest that this is bad. A rank of 84 with an ADP of 97 last season in Philadelphia. He was the 68th ranked player per game in ESPN points. I guess you could look at this and go, well, maybe Toby doesn't get 34 minutes a night on the Pistons. They're all that development. They'll get him in and he'll play his 26 minutes and Asar and Ronnie and those guys will play. And I don't think, no, you don't pay $50 million to help shape your team and have him be there to help the other players like Van Vliet in Houston. This is 100% the mold they're going for. You don't have him sit there and do less and play significantly less than he did on Philadelphia. Again, like easy money. And while I have shown skepticism about the passport legend Jalen Duren in a few shows recently, for the reasons that, I'll say him again if you want, is that Isaiah Stewart is telling us that he is a permanent 5. So is Isaiah Stewart an 18-minute-a-night player? Oh, I didn't mean to put Isaiah Stewart's graphic up there. My bad. That was actually meant to be Jalen Duren's. But you know what? You can look at Isaiah Stewart's at the moment. Or change to Duren now. Is Stewart going to go from 31 minutes to 17, 18 minutes? It seems unlikely. But maybe it is. But does that mean there's a chance with a new coach and multiple non-shooters on the wing that they get someone who can shoot to play center? Like Stewart, even though he's undersized and not a starter. But when you get to pick 98, which is where Duren is in ESPN, he was 76th last season per game, I don't find a real problem with that. I think it's actually pretty bloody good. Got a couple more names to go through that are all outside the top 100 who don't fully qualify for last round flyer status. And one of those, again, is Rowan Barrett. Barrett last season on ESPN points formats was 85th. He's expected to be worse for, I don't know, an anti-Canada bias, which is terrible. Why would anybody be against Canada? Like, they're too dumb to even know when you insult them. It's just a waste of time. His ADP is 102. His rank is 96, Rowan Barrett. That's unbelievable value. I love it. I love it. Yusuf Nurkic is an ADP of 104. Yeah, like, there's just not many centers around there. I think there's a real chance that Budenholzer unlocks some stuff with him. So I do like him there. Hartenstein, that is just not making a lot of sense. Now, Hartenstein last season, incredibly low usage, 25 minutes a night, 116th in ESPN points. His ADP is 107 and rank is 93. I actually think he beats both those numbers pretty easily. He might not, though. That is a little bit more risky, but I am in on it. Jabari Smith. We've talked a lot about the Rockets and the strength of their rotation or the amount of guys in their rotation and how does everyone play enough. But be pretty shocked if Jabari doesn't begin the season as a starter. His ADP currently sits at 113 for ESPN leagues, Jabari Smith. Last season, he was 114th per game. So 113th is suggesting not much changes. And as a third-year player, I'm not really sure that's a decent way to look at it. I get it. I get where did the shots come from. I understand that, but it might be just 47% shooting, which helps you in the efficiency numbers, which translate into ESPN points, which then also gives you more scoring, which translates into ESPN points. Maybe he blocks like a shot instead of 0.8. That's something as well. It's extra 1-2 points. And if he gets 3 to 4 more fantasy points, then we're good. We're good at that spot. We like it. Another one of these that the reason for it is obvious, but reasons don't matter when you're drafting because the list is there. So Josh Hart, the hitman, sits with an ADP of 115 and a rank of 124. And I was out on Josh Hart with the initial numbers that came out when this team was what it was. But the team isn't what it was. He's going to start. Does he play like 38 minutes a night? And then he accumulates enough. Could he do the fat-faced Ray Felton as an average, a 10-10-10? Well, he won't average 10 assists, but he's going to do enough. And at that spot, that actually turns into value. And then there is the bucket. John Kuminga's ranked at 120. 120. Seems a little low. Kuminga was 129th last season in 26 minutes a game. And now this team has no Chris Paul or no Klay Thompson. So, yeah. That one, if you're drafting on ESPN, you're looking, well, look, what am I getting late? Like, flighty hell. We are all about that one. And lastly, if you are still here and hanging around, I've got 4 more names for you. Mark Williams is dealing with a foot issue. Hopefully there's no problem. But at his ADP of 117, literally who cares? That's a ridiculously good value. Love getting him there, and then we see what happens. If I talked about Jordan Poole, and I did, you know that I did, in the Yahoo section about his value, well, this is as easy as pie. ADP 118. Rank 117. Who wants to throw a guess out? You don't have to guess. Just do it in your head. Of what he was ranked in ESPN points leagues last season. An almost worst case scenario in only 30 minutes. The answer is 111th. So they are expecting AV aggression. I'm not. W. Jakob Poeltl has a rank of 99. I know technically that doesn't fall in the outside 100 mark because at times I know numbers, but you know what? I was a little miscalculating with some of the stuff that I did, and I had him there, but his ADP was like 125, but his rank was 99, and therefore the ADP of 125 fell outside the top 100. Therefore I put him here, but then I realized I didn't want to include his ADP there, so I only put his rank, and then it looks stupid. Anyway, let's draft Jakob Poeltl towards the end of drafts because at 99 I really like that value. And lastly, I don't know what's going to happen with Walker Kessler because they obviously were all over the shop with him last season. But again, if we want to talk worst case scenario, he played 23 minutes a night last season and he ranked 121st. He's currently ranked 112th. Cool. I think he's a top 100 player. I reckon he's going inside the top 100. I reckon he's going 25 minutes minimum, which might go higher. I might get absolutely turkey slapped for that idea, but that's where I'm at with it. And that is 13 slides and around 60 different names. Well, not 60 different names, 60 names, some of them doubled up, of players in Yahoo and ESPN points leagues who I think are sleepers. Me, I'm going to become a sleeper now because that is my third show for today and I'm tired. And it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, that's not that late to sleep, is it? Hit the thumb, subscribe, Operation 100K, and hopefully you get something out of this video. Hopefully it is straightforward enough. Hopefully I didn't lose my mind enough to completely lose the track and figure out what we were doing here. But that's okay, because we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.